Good morning, it's June 10th at 9 a.m. We'll be starting this work session, starting with calendar review led by Sandra Pettis, Executive Administrative Assistant.
Good morning. Let's go ahead.
Morning, Mark.
How are you?
Morning, Mark.
Morning.
Okay, so next week, starting on Monday, the 16th, doesn't look like we have much going on. Commissioner Elsa will be here, office hours 12 to 4. Tuesday, the 17th, we have your regular meeting from 11 to 2. City Council has their regular meeting from 6 to 8. And there should be a Conservation District monthly meeting from 6 to 8 as well.
Oh, I see it. Whoops.
Do ya? Okay.
I was looking at like 11
I'll
at
get with
night.
Harmony, but yeah, usually she, these are pretty regularly scheduled unless she tells me otherwise. Let's see, Wednesday the 18th, community coffee from 8:30 to 10. You have a Lake County Community Health Program meeting from 10 to 11. And Commissioner Elsa will have office hours from 11 to 3. Thursday, the 19th.
Holiday.
Also not much going on.
Yeah. What's a holiday?
Oh, it is?
Juneteenth.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. Well, I need to add that on there.
Maybe school?
Does the county observe Juneteenth?
Yes.
do.
Oh,
That's one of our
that's
house, and that,
Yeah.
so that's what I was gonna ask if you were still planning to have office hours so we can.
No, I guess if the
Do that.
building's gonna be closed.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say, if you need to.
Definitely take that off.
Yeah, so I will take that off and I will put holiday observed on there. My bad, I totally forgot about that.
It's a new one, isn't it?
Moving on to the 20th, coffee with elected officials. I went ahead and put that on your calendars and on the website. That is anywhere between 8 and 11 at before and after. There's a fire management board meeting. I think I saw an email from Lori Ty, so I might have to change this. Did that get canceled now, do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, I'll check on that. If it is on, it's from 9 to 11, but, and then Twin Lakes Community Coffee from 9 to 10. That is it for next week.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, let's move into work session item number 2, an overview of training County Board of Equalization hearings led by Mark Wadsworth, our county assessor.
Alright, well I just printed these out and I've had a
Thank you.
rough schedule in this the last couple of days, not gonna put it together last night.
Yeah, no worries.
So, and I'll email you, Andrew, this stuff.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I just thought that, I talked to Sarah Mudge last year when the CPOE hearings were done. And she thought that it was gonna be a really good idea to just have a quick training with you guys on the County Board of Equalization, because unlike other commissioners, they kind of have a road, all three of you guys are new this year and they haven't done it yet. Generally, there's just one that has that each time, or two even, but I think that is then, plus the county has went to the alternate appeal period this year, like we had to do in 2023, so 2 years ago, which changes the normal dates that these things need to be completed by. So I'll just start with the County Board of Equalization is, in Lake County and with all the other counties, I think, the County Board of Commissioners is the County Board of Equalization. So you guys have another I guess another title that you probably didn't even think about when you were running for commissioner. The duties of the County Board of Equalization is that they shall review the valuations for the assessment of all taxable property appearing in the assessment roll of the county, directing the assessor to supply any omissions which may come to its attention, shall correct any errors made by the assessor, and whenever in its judgment, justice and right so require, it shall raise, lower, or adjust any valuation for assessment appearing in the assessment roll to the end that all valuations for assessed property are just and equalized within the county. Now you guys gotta be experts in that too, I guess, right?
Only when they come to our attention, so someone will request.
Yeah, there is a date in here which I am required to provide the tax roll. And of course, that's readily available
Okay.
in any time, but by the end of the CBOE hearings and by the time that we concluded the CBOE, that'll be about the same exact tax roll that I'll be certifying to the entities in December for levies.
Okay.
So if I could just kind of go through here and what the dates are and.
Sure.
Because last year was kind of a mess and I kind of think that Lake's been not really doing it correctly. So, you know, the assessor, we have to set values by, on all real property by May 1st. We sent those notices of value out to everybody. And then the people that are taxpayers that are not happy with the value that I have sent them, they can appeal that value to the assessor's level of value. That's kind of where we're at right now. We just got done with collecting all of the protests for the year yesterday. And then there'll still be some coming in because they have to be postmarked by June 8th. Well, that, in a normal year, the assessor has until July 1st to respond to all of the appeals by notice of determination. Going on to the extended appeal period, that allows the assessor in Lake County to wait until August 15th. I had planned on sending the notices of determination to people that have appealed, but when we work the protest. You know, we pull in sales and look at our value, and if it needs adjusted, we adjust it. But I'm not allowed to print those in one by one. They have to be done in mass, so everybody's gonna have to wait until August 15th until they get their notice of determination. That is usually, like I said, it's usually done a lot earlier, and CBOE hearings can start usually on July 2nd.
Mark, quick question.
Yeah.
On here it says an appeal must be postmarked or delivered in person on or before July 15th, not
That,
June
I
8th.
think that's personal. July 15th for,
No, cause then it says, July 15th for real property and July 22nd for personal property. So
that
what,
is an appeal to the county board.
oh, to us,
Yeah,
got it,
yeah,
got
that's
it.
where I got confused, and those are usually the dates that in a normal year, they would get a notice of determination from us July 1st. That gives them a 2-week window to file to the county board of equalization, requesting a hearing. And then personal properties, it's like, they have till the 22nd. We don't generally get a whole lot of personal property. The
Yeah.
threshold was raised so high that there's not very many accounts really.
Yeah. Wait, sorry, so just pause. I wanna get
Yeah,
these dates right. So they had until June 8th to appeal your valuation,
yeah,
to protest your valuation. And then you have until August 15th to make your determination.
well, that's because Lake County's on the alternate appeal period.
Sure,
So,
but I
yeah,
just,
so I have till August 15th this year, but in a normal year,
yeah,
July 1st, I would have to send those notices of determination out.
I guess what I'm not understanding is if you have until August 15th, how do they know if they need to appeal to the BOE by the 15th of July?
Well, that's coming up.
Oh,
The deadline actually for the alternate appeal period, because they're not, they won't have their notice of determination
Right.
till August 15th. They give them till September 15th. So they have a whole month on this schedule that we're on this year. So they can file to the CBOE by the September 15th.
so what does this mean? What does the 15th and the 22nd mean then?
That is in a normal year. So I would have to, and then they would get a notice of determination from us July 1st. That gives them 2 weeks, or July 15th, to file a CBOE hearing, or, to further their appeal.
So both are mixed in together.
Well,
in
so I
this.
was just putting down, I put down both days. At the very last page, and I gave you a calendar too, but, I'm just doing that for reference, because these are what, next year,
Mhm,
we're gonna be doing this a
the
lot
other
earlier.
schedule, yeah, okay, Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, it says to submit an appeal form to CBOE by email, that needs to happen. It sounds like it's supposed to come to the, manager's office. Does that mean I'm supposed to be collecting those?
I would say yes.
Okay.
The post office box we had on our notices of determination last year went to finance.
Sure. If people wanna email it, have you put out an email for them to send it to yet?
No,
Okay, could I give
that
you one
that
that's,
information will be on everybody's notice of determination.
could I create an inbox that's just for determinations? I get
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's
so many
Yeah.
emails, I don't
Right.
wanna miss somebody's.
Yeah.
I don't wanna miss somebody's, I wanna keep it all in one inbox, so
Yeah,
we
oh,
are
I
like,
can
hey,
totally
you're all
understand that,
here.
because it
That's
gets,
a good
it can
idea.
get messy. I don't anticipate the 500 or 1,000 that we had in 2023, but
I'll get that created
we
and
will
get it to you.
have some.
Yeah, and who am I, because I don't remember Tim doing that.
No, it was a nightmare. Finance was getting
Yeah,
the things, and then when I got here, CPOE hearings were already going.
Right,
So I don't know how that went down, but the scheduling was done like on a website, and people could schedule their own hearings, and that was the biggest mess
Yeah.
in the world.
that, yeah, with
So,
with the volume.
yeah.
Was horrible.
And we did a lot of that. We sent out the stuff from the CPOE, the stipulations and stuff. I really think that the assessor's office needs to be somewhat removed from the CPOE. They're just to prevent the look of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that, like favoritism or something. And that's why this is set up like this too. The notices of determination are actually statute to be sent out by the clerk of the court. I have no problem, whoever does something else, it doesn't matter, but,
I can work with Nikki to make sure I get them from the PO box.
yeah, because the email needs to be updated and then, and so they can deliver in person. And that address needed to be updated too, because I don't know if that's gonna be in the annex or what. Okay, so,
Sorry to interrupt.
no, that's fine.
It's like, it sounds like I'm responsible for that, I should figure it out.
good to know.
Okay, so this kind of just goes what the requirements should be for an appeal to the County Board of Equalization. Needs to be done by September 15th of this year, but a regular year would be July 15th. So
And we only hold the Board of Equalization on one day,
no,
and we get everybody done, no.
oh gosh, no. Well, 2023, we went through it. I bet you it was 5, 6 weeks.
Okay,
and that was from 7 AM to 6 PM. But that was a unique year.
yeah,
Like I say, I came in July 15th and they were just going. Like I was the only one in the office. I was
Yeah.
going to CBOE hearings with a sales list and a Tuesday.
yeah. Wild market.
So, yeah, that was pretty wild. That was pretty crazy. And trying to defend a value that
You didn't make.
I didn't create, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
agree with. Yeah, so anyway, but I'm glad that is well behind us. So they will file for an appeal. The scheduling of that can start as soon as September 2nd. And that scheduling, I just would like that not to be done online or handled by the assessor's office at all.
How have we done, and in the past, how have we done scheduling?
It was this
It was a
audit
mess.
and it was the biggest mess. We had people were duplicating, they were showing up at the same times, or they were showing up at times that they thought they'd scheduled and they weren't on the schedule and stuff. So Candace and I were just chatting about setting up a separate email, she
Yeah.
suggested for that, and then have Sandra actually
Manager.
get those and manage the request to schedule, so we know it's a real person doing it instead of the
Could we-
automated.
Could we set it up like a meeting scheduler for that specific email that Sandra could like put in all three of our schedules into it for available times?
I presume.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I presume.
That way,
And
if it's
Justin would probably say, here's the.
Well,
Airtable, I know, yeah.
so actually, I have a scheduler on my email
Yeah.
that's through Microsoft, and Liz and I have troubleshot it and it actually works.
Nice,
So, I think what we'll probably do is create a bookings just for that.
Yep.
To the email we create.
Yep.
And just really try to set the times to when you guys are available.
yeah.
I'll just talk with you guys about when you want to schedule them.
And Mark, how many happen on a typical year?
Oh, I'm not gonna make, this is gonna be really hard to know that one.
Just give us a ballpark,
It's-
like how
well,
little have you seen, how many have
I
you seen?
think that I have somewhere around 600 appeals.
Okay,
That's
a lot.
I would think that we would probably have maybe 100 CBO hearings.
Okay,
Hopefully that's not the case. I'm sending comparables with the notices of determination that shows the petitioner, their house, the houses that were used, I think that them having that should alleviate some of these hearings. Because if you don't provide that, and you just say, well, you're denied, that's generally what's been the norm. I think it's more likely that the taxpayer's gonna wanna go to the county court here because they weren't really provided enough information to show that the value is a good, strong value.
yeah,
So that's something I had to build that in Excel, but I think that little insert with all of our determinations will help us a lot.
okay, so 5 hours,
Well, yeah,
if it's
yeah.
100, that's 25 hours.
But they could be scheduled anytime from September 2nd till,
November,
I think there's.
November 3rd, it says,
That's when everything has to end,
Hearings
but I
end.
think we're gonna wanna be done
Yeah,
with the
November
hearings.
1st is the deadline for all the hearings.
Yeah, they say the first, but
It says the third on
this year's
here.
the third because of the weekends
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah,
Where it falls, yeah.
We should just pack them all into 3 days,
Just to brew, well, and the thing about it too is I know in past Mark and his staff, especially the trauma that was last year, worked really hard to get stipulations
Oh, yeah.
and stuff, so that narrows it down, and then the good news was then the CBO hearings were really successful. We only had 1 or 2 that went to the state
Yeah.
for it, which is good.
that's
One of
awesome.
those was a personal property county, Yeah, that there's a good chance, so the quicker that we get a request for a hearing, that the assessor's office gets a copy of that, the better, because there's a lot of times we'll look at that property, maybe reevaluate the sales that were used, the comps.
Yeah.
And we can do a stipulation with them prior to the hearing, and then we'll just cancel, then the hearing gets canceled.
So it's kind of like a plea deal.
Yes, yeah, exactly, you know, like they say it's 500,000, we're coming in for 50, whatever. And we kind of look at it and say, well, like, you know, this comp is really needs another adjustment or whatever, and we could 475, we call them and they agree to it, and we sign a form.
Cool.
And then we
Okay.
notify the county board to cancel that one. Okay, so, what we've done in the past, and this is just, when I worked in Summit County, they had referees. The county would actually employ realtors or someone from the community that has real estate experience to be the referees in these hearings. And then they would report to the county board of commissioners, similar to like planning and zoning does. And they would, of course, have the final decision in anything that was to be done, but, Lake County's never done that. And, you know, but that, I actually like that because I think that it's a benefit to the taxpayer to see that we're actually, there's no conflict there. If you know, the petitioner walks in and they see an elected official but you know, that's just my opinion. And I mean, that would be hard to seat a 3-panel referee thing, because in the statutes, it says that any referee that's appointed cannot have appealed to the county in that year, or been an agent for anybody that has appealed to the county in that year. And there goes most of the people that I would think that could sit on it as a referee, because they all helped other people protest.
So instead, we do have arbitrators that are appointed for appeals from the CBOE. If we can do that before they actually go to the state, and so the
Yeah.
BOCC has named 3 arbitrators for that.
Yeah.
And we've got an agreement, we'll serve for those, so that's an opportunity too.
Kind of the way that the hearings go, so we'll sit down, you guys have to have a quorum, obviously. The time will come, and they have to be recorded, I believe. The chairperson would say the time and what the hearing is for, the address, and the address or the description of the property.
Real property, right?
Yeah, and then they would kind of explain, because a lot of the people that are going to these hearings may have not ever protested to that level. So they kind of give a little spiel, well, we're gonna let you say why your value's too high for 5 minutes, we'll give the assessor 5 minutes. And then there'll be a 5-minute, either questions from you guys, of me or the the petitioner. And then you just close the hearing, and you don't necessarily make a decision right then and there. I think it says you can't. That you just take notes or whatever and discuss that. And then make your decision.
When do we make the decision?
Well, but by November 3rd, for sure.
But can you talk through, like, what does that actually look like, Mark? So if in the room, we're not making the decision and we're taking notes and we're listening to everybody, when do we confer to make the determination?
I think you can do that on a case-by-case thing, or at the end of the day, you could probably make your decisions there, but I think that they're trying to make sure that everybody gets their notices of determinations from you guys, from the CBOE at the same time.
Got it, okay.
Because it just has to be, I mean, I would really hope to see us be done with this October 1st.
And that'd be lovely.
Yeah, and I think that probably will be doable, since, and I don't, whatever you guys' schedules allow, I'll make sure that we're represented, we're available for any of those hearings. So that's how the hearing kind of goes. You guys have closed the hearing, and then, we'll just go to the next one. This says on here that additional documents to submitted to the CBOE on the day of the hearing. may not be considered due to time constraints in some cases.
Sure.
But this will be at the discretion of the CBOE. Now, and that, I just wrote in there, I don't agree with that at all, because there's a lot of times that the assessor goes to these hearings with, here's new stuff, and I don't think that we should, discount anything that the taxpayer provides at the last second either. And I think that was probably something that was written down because of the year that was 2023. And then there's where it says the clerk and recorder shall notify each person affected by any change in the valuation of his property ordered by the board and shall furnish the assessor a copy of such notice. And the reason that I get a copy of that is I got changed in the system.
So then it's actually the clerk who's the one who tells everybody by November what the board has determined?
Yes.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
So the clerk has to be in all these meetings too then?
Not,
Or how do we
No.
talk to the clerk about what our determinations are?
I would have a secretary, did you guys have somebody that's?
Sandra,
That would be like a
Yeah.
Will you, Sandra?
Yeah, she could keep track of what you guys' decisions are and then give those in bulk, to.
yeah, the clerk isn't going to, she won't be in here with the hearings. So it's more of you just provide the information, it's her responsibility to disperse the information.
Yeah.
But-
It's more like the logistics that I'm asking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like how,
right.
I get the rules.
Yeah,
I'm understanding the rules.
Oh, sure.
It's more like, how are we actually going to accomplish this?
yeah,
Because 15 minutes is quick,
it is good.
right? And remembering if we're packing a lot into one day, making that determination at the end of the day,
It's
not remembering
Yeah, I agree
20
with
ago,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how we're gonna manage that, and if the clerk is supposed to be here, or who's our clerk, or whatever.
In
Almost gonna have to
twenty
make-
twenty-three, there was like, I'm serious, there was probably easy 500 of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
And what found out I was doing is more times than not, I was stipulating with the taxpayer at the hearing.
Yeah.
And they were just taking, and Kayla was writing, and Sarah were just writing these down, and I don't want that to go through that again, because it was kind of a mess at the end when there was a few people that we didn't stipulate with, and he wanted to hold the value of what was on the books, and they're like, who again, and I don't want that to happen, and I don't
No.
think we'll ever have that many people. But having just a spreadsheet just kept of
Yeah.
who it is and what you guys,
Maybe-
sided with, or whatever value you guys came up with.
Maybe there's, Candace, what do you think about this? What if Sandra could prep a shared document for the schedule? If we have one where there are 20 folks in one day, there's some sort of spreadsheet, shared spreadsheet that has everybody on that day that we can all access, and we see this person at this time, this is the real property description. And then Andy, Matt, and Elsa, us put in how we would, how we would rule.
Good, well done.
And then we can go back at the end of the day and see okay, well, where were we, where do we actually need to discuss?
I think that's what was done before, I think
Yeah.
you have like a master list like that.
Great,
And then-
And just, there was too many people, too many
I can
fingers
figure it
on
out.
it that were modifying stuff, but
Person, time, date, real property address decision.
and
Let's see
then
if we can dig
the
up.
three of us, cause if we're not having the discussion in front of the
I'll
taxpayer.
Yeah. Let's get the one from last year.
Yeah, so that way we can
Mark,
look at
and
it.
see, I'll see if I've got that somewhere too,
Yeah, cause that actually was pretty handy, because it was the schedule and everything was on that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I just wanna start this conversation before we step into these,
Oh, I
as long
agree.
as we're in this meeting, right? Is this what we're using the meeting for, is to?
Yeah.
Our ducks in a row.
yeah.
Yeah, great. Cause I hear what a mess this can be, Mark, I don't wanna,
No, yeah, I
Set you up for that
think
again.
2023 was extra special,
yeah.
for
seems like
sure,
it.
that is for sure, with the whole problems with the Miguel and the whole office really.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna do it right by you this
Yeah,
year.
and I know that, I think that this, Sarah leaving this little chore for me to do, I thought was a really good thing. Because it'll kind of prep us for what's coming down the road. Anybody that files late, and I will, even at my level, I look at those if I have a chance.
Okay.
They're late appeals, but I would rather review those and make adjustments if needed before the tax bill goes out. And then we're faced with some sort of an abatement type of thing, where we have to refund an overpayment. A lot of, I don't think any other office probably would do that, some it does, but it saves us problems. And the thing that they talk about equalization, that duties of the Board of Equalization is to make sure that fair and just properties or valuations across the total tax roll are fair. I found out a lot of stuff just sitting and going through these county board hearings, because you see consistencies, you see certain areas that I knew were just wrong. So what I would do is I would not only adjust the person that appealed, is I would adjust and look at that area or that class of property in that area and adjust everybody. I mean, a good example is 40-acre parcels that are down there by the county gravel pit. Those were valued at like $750,000 to $800,000. There was no sale in the world to justify that. And those tracks, all the way, even short Creek Drive, those 40 acres or larger tracks like that, I revalued every one of them, even if they hadn't appealed. And I saved a lot of headaches over that. And I will do the same thing with this. If you had a duplex in Brooklyn Heights, for instance, and if they protest and they're successful, and then I look at this, I obviously overvalued all of them, because they're all brand new and they're all the same. And I think that's an important thing to note, that because you guys are saying that this is equalized and fair. And that's a step that I make sure that this office will do.
So it's an opportunity for you to see like patterns.
Yeah.
To be able to like write the entire tax roll.
Yep, and I had to do that already for 4 seasons. I put in I was gonna value those parcels out there by a lot value instead of a per acre. And to do that, you have to convert every single one of those to a measure by a unit and put the number of lots they have in there. And then I calculated everything was pretty, but I don't know what happened, but the old value went in there on the per acre for my per unit. And they're about half acre lots, so every person's land value was double what I wanted it to be. And I heard about that real quick, but I've already corrected that in the whole subdivision, but that, that's, I think, those things happen.
Yeah.
But
That's the point of this.
that's exactly right, and that's like, goes to kind of go back to I would rather fix it now, fix it before November 3rd, than to have to go through that abatement process, because I've had a ton of them in the last 2 years, especially the 2023, but that's a whole nother story about posting values and stuff, but it was a software thing, but,
So
I
then,
really wanna get away from doing those. You're gonna have to hear a big one coming up that was out off Highway 91 for Arkansas or Blue, what is that? Buckeye, not Buckeye, Bird's Eye Land LLC or something. Those values came in, we missed them when I was correcting them, like they were valued at $750,000 per 40 acres or whatever. Most of it's wetlands and it's on a conservation easement.
right,
So we're gonna have to need to read them out.
so how does abatement work? If this is supposed to be the double checking,
Yeah,
like, what is
I
the
don't- yeah.
abatement checking
See, that's a process that I don't really agree with that much because if you're late, that they say that
Right,
I don't have to look at those appeals. But there's nothing stopping that same person from filing an abatement after the 1st of January for a refund of overpayment of taxes based off of an erroneous value. So I have to review it anyway. And I just don't like, I don't know, I know that if they protest and do not go on to the CBOE, they are not eligible for any type of abatement for that year.
but if they didn't protest,
But
if
if
they
they
didn't
didn't
go
protest,
through this process,
yeah,
they still can
they still could file
get
for an abatement.
That's some silly stuff.
It is silly. And it's, you know, with the mistake that we had with our stipulations and stuff, that's a whole different thing, but when people don't appeal in that year and they get their tax bill, they wanna protest off their tax bill and they do it through an abatement process, I don't like the process, but
I could
That's-
see if if you were incorrectly taxed on your valuation,
right,
but this is the time for the valuation appeal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really odd.
yeah, and it's like I
That's a
have a
shame.
whole nother appeal period
Mm-hmm,
at the end of April.
mm-hmm.
And the things that you will hear from people, you know, they wanna use sales that are out of the time period, because as if I could just touch on that real quick, this year, our appraisal date is June 30th, 2024. So any sale that occurs after that date,
Mm-hmm.
I can't use it for any value conversions, and you guys can listen to whatever, but
Okay,
there has been exception to that, in that if the person that is appealing is a sale after the time period but was under contract on that appraisal date, you can use that sale, but only for that property,
that seems fair.
you know?
Yeah.
We used a 2-year time period to do the residential values, which is 6 months longer than statute. Says the assessor shall use 18 months prior to June 30th of the 2024. That leaves a 6-month gap if you're in a 2-year cycle. And most counties do use a 24-month period, but the statute says you can go back in 6-month increments up to 5 years. So I could actually have used 5 years of sales to generate the values for this year. And there's no way I would ever wanna do that, especially with the software that doesn't take a sales record, because those properties change a ton
Yeah.
for what they were when they bought. And just, you'd have to time trend those things and all that stuff. The time trending is a requirement, so you have to analyze your sales and over the 24-month period that you used. If you see an appreciation rate or depreciation rate, you have to change that sales date to reflect a June 30th, 24 sale. So if it was 6 months old and an appreciating market, you may add a percentage per month of appreciation for the 6 months to get it up to a June 30th sale.
How can you determine what the appreciation rate is? Is it across the entire county?
You stratify that in 2 parts, but you need 30 to 30 sales.
Yeah.
In an area, so Twin Lakes and Leadville pretty much, I mean, those 2 areas. I submitted findings and the state agreed that there was no significant trend for our time. So this time we won't have to worry about the time trend because that's a big big argument point, I guess, with a lot of people.
Mm.
And it was applied badly 2 years ago, so I had to time adjust the sale prices. It is a complicated thing, there's three different ways you can do it. They compare the sale price to the value that the assessor has on the property and how those ratios change over that 24-month. You know, somebody sells and buys at the same level, it's like a ratio of 1.
Can you close that door, Mark, just so I can really focus on you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so hard to hear with all that.
Yeah, so most of the time when you're doing a sales ratio study like that, at the beginning of the time period, so starting July up till now, even, you would see those starting ratios about, you would say 1.0, right, if we were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, it's about 0.95, somewhere in there, and you'll be below that one, and you'll see how you just graph it. You can see at the rate of change, and that's one method you do it. You can do paired sales or resales. This house is just like this one sold in, and you look at both the differences in those kinds of things. Or multiple regression analysis, which is my preferred method, because there are no two homes that are exactly the same. Resales can be bad data as well, because somebody could have bought it, fixed it up or whatever, so sold it, so that could inflate the appreciation numbers if you look at that too much. But the regression, it will return a dollar amount per, they call it, it's a coefficient. So your dependent variable is the sales price. And one of the variables that you put in this model, along with the quality of the house and the neighborhood and size and all that stuff, is a month variable. And that month variable, if it's significant, will come into the model and it'll give you a rate. So what you do is you take that rate out of that coefficient and you apply that to those sale prices to them appreciate in an appreciating market, to reflect what it is returning now as a percentage per month to reflect the June 30th sale. Once you do that, you run that same model, and that time variable that you would had in there will come in insignificant or not at all. That means you applied the time adjustment correctly.
Yeah.
The sales ratio, I don't like it because it's too dependent on the previous value that was set on the assessor, and it could be not the best value.
Yeah. So then you have to send that ratio, or you have to send that percentage increase or decrease to the state and they have to approve it?
No, I was out of this for quite a while, and I was a little rusty, so I just sent my stuff there as a check.
Nice, okay. Yeah, you're like, hey, state assessors, can you help check my work?
Yeah, you have to and everybody, they've always done it. A lot of state or counties just do that. You have to request it, and yes, it has to be official. And you have to kind of go through a lot to get them to look at it. And you only have 3 strikes. If you send bad data 3 times in a row, they just said, forget it, But I got it on strike 2, so.
Good job.
They actually sent them the land file twice instead of the land, and then the approved sale separately. But anyway, they came back with the same results, and
Cool.
I'm behind on giving the auditor because he does take an independent review of everything.
Yeah.
That's another reason I had to go to the extended period, is that August 25th date that generally I have to certify to the entities, and that's and then we do it later, for the final one, but that gives everybody a heads up kind of where values are at for the year. I will not have that done. I won't be ready August 25th, there's just no way. I have software issues with the way things are calculated, and I won't just let it spit out certain values for those certifications, particularly the number that is going to new construction or growth.
Yeah.
It's just not done right, so I have to do it by hand, and that takes a long time. And the TIF and I have a lot of protests or a lot of things that I need to do still. The rail yard and that whole thing is a mess.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to calculate that increment, and he's contesting all of his land values out there, so I don't really.
Does he think they're too high or too low?
Well, they are a lot higher than they were.
Wouldn't that be good for him?
Well, not really, because they build and sell the buildings.
Right.
And we have a vacant land discounting that I have to apply, and I'm going to have to do that again because it didn't get applied right. But it's the factor that I'm using is based off of this year's sales. So once a subdivision is 80% sold or built out, you lose that discount.
Mhm.
Up until then, per year, you have to calculate a projection, you get a net present worth factor, and that is a discount rate
Right,
off of the base, which your base is what a comparable land sale would go for.
yeah,
Because they're selling just the houses. I did the same thing down in Evergreen. The base they were using, especially at Westwood, was $4,000. So that, they get land tax value was like $2,000 on every one of those.
mm,
And the rail yard was bad, but it wasn't that bad. It was, I wanna say they were like 10,000.
okay,
And I'm gonna be up somewhere, because they sold more. The calculation is showing less time, so
yeah,
I'm going to be somewhere around 50 per lot. And vacant land is taxed at a lot higher rate,
right,
so it definitely raised some eyebrows.
interesting. It's like yes, but also you're getting the increment based on how much it's
Right.
improved, so,
Yeah, it's like, so the way that it was just explained to me, that's 80% of that increment
right,
goes to the developer until it's done. I'm sure that, and he doesn't like the future filings, he's actually protesting it all because he has a moratorium on building out there, he says he can't do anything. But
oh my,
you guys will get to hear that along with me,
oh, cool,
probably.
no, cause he's in the city. Oh, but, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, right, you're the assessor for the whole county.
I
Okay,
have 4 subdivisions that have discounting. The other one's Virginia Avenue or whatever by Evergreen, that little cul-de-sac,
uh-huh,
and Angel Review, because it's new.
Why is he in a moratorium? Under a moratorium, you can't build it.
Well, I think they did, that said the Chapin and those guys or whatever, they told him couldn't build anymore because of drainage issues, things like that. He wasn't really holding up on his end of the deal, it sounds like to
he
me.
would not,
But I had to abate a lot of, or 4 of those parcels because they were parks. They attributed value to those, he didn't appeal till the next year, so, and those were, that big park, it's exempt,
yeah,
but they were taxed on it. It's 3 of those.
dang
That
it,
was like, that was just a lot of money, see, you really need to be careful when classification. And you'll probably hear some classification things, I've got some people that are fighting for their agricultural status.
okay,
But we'll see how that goes, and then there's an improvement that is not integral to the operation of the ranch, which are the ranchettes that people will buy and have a lease with their neighbor to throw a cow out there once in a while, but there really is a second home.
Yeah.
You can value the property under the house at a full vacant lot rate, but the remainder gets agricultural status.
the house can be vacant lot,
But no, because it's got, you just,
cause it has a house.
you value that land that the house sits on
Oh, I
as
see.
you would a comparable
Got
lot
it.
in a
Yeah,
subdivision. So that kind of stops some of the, I guess, I love property taxation, it's the fairest tax that there is. You have $1 million home, you should be paying twice what the guy with the $500,000 house is. Agricultural is one of those loopholes, I think, that gets abused.
Yeah, for sure,
But that's one way that the state said, well, we're gonna tax you on, since you don't live there, you're not a rancher. That gives us, the assessors, the right to tax that at full underneath the house.
awesome,
Yeah.
Are you getting your software bugs worked out, or is that?
I was
Do we have an
trying to, I have another, demonstration, I guess, to be tomorrow, I'm done. I have 5, I think, bids or whatever.
Cool.
It's just been so hectic, I haven't had a chance to, I've gotten one demo done. Then the demo that I think I may be getting tomorrow is gonna be with Tyler, actually.
Hmm.
They have a new system called Enterprise. This was not known to me, but it does handle multiple regression. I have an open mind going in, but
yeah,
it seems like every time I turn around, I have a snafu, like sending out notices of determination one by one. Oh, we have to do it all at once, because that's the way it makes us do it.
Mark, when is your demo?
I have to schedule it, because I emailed her yesterday, and she said I'm available Wednesday on, and if anybody would like to
Yeah,
be
would
part
you,
of that, I'd be all over that.
would you let me know what it is and I'll try to join if I can. If I
Yeah.
can't, I'll get Justin from IT to join. I just wanna make sure if we think that's the direction you would move, that we're ready to help.
Yeah, and
you.
I'd like to, yeah, because just, that guy is awesome.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does a great job.
And then I guess the only last thing I got is after you guys are done with our CBOE, I certify to the state on November 21st. And then I recertify to the taxing entities with the final values by December 10th. And that's when you guys will have to set your bills.
Yeah,
County and everybody else. And that was one of those things that was like a mess last year, and I don't think it should have been. Where when somebody sent one in, it was in a mailbox of fevers for weeks and, and all this.
Oh, yeah.
But, if we could just ensure that I get those, it's
Check
like
in the mail.
kind of
check
the
in the
most
mail.
important that the assessor has those, because I have to certify the roll and to calculate taxes and give them to Patrick. I didn't have a CMC one
Oh,
for
shoot.
a long time, and then Patrick, at that time of the year,
Don't talk to him.
he stresses out and I do everything. I mean, he sits there, opens the door, and he looks all nervous, I'm like, I have until Friday, and this is like Monday morning. Yeah, it's kind of.
Mark, can I confirm a couple of dates with you since we're in an alternate period, so I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
Rob,
last thing
screw
I
it
gave
up.
you is really, really handy,
Yeah,
because it's
thank
got
you.
all the dates on it.
This is on the website.
Yeah,
I love it.
So the period, because we're in an alternate year for accepting request, or for us, from the email, we need to have the email set up. And how long can we let people request to be on, to have a CBOE hearing? Like, what are
September
the dates?
15th.
So they can request a hearing
Yeah.
up to the 15th,
Yeah, they get a whole month.
okay? And then what are the dates that the hearings need to be scheduled? It looks like there's a,
September 2nd, you can start,
okay?
and I don't really think it's defined when they need to be.
This is
in, but
November 3rd.
November 3rd is when we have to
So
tell them.
yeah, everything has to be
So
completed, so
September 2nd to,
I would do before November 3rd though, just to
Okay.
keep.
Yeah, I would too, I would think of it no later than October 15th,
I would,
Don't
yeah,
we
to
have-
give them,
that's 2 weeks.
Don't we have a whole section of time where it was like, please don't go on vacation, don't be gone?
yeah.
And it was like October 3rd to the 16th or something. There was some time in there that we were
For the
requested to
hearings and
not.
stuff.
Oh, it's for this.
I
It's
think
for
that,
this?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so that you'd be available for these hearings.
so do you guys wanna start in September, or do you wanna wait until the 15th? Like when the end date for people to ask before we start scheduling?
You don't have to decide right this minute, but
Don't
that's
care.
something to inform, school will be back in session.
Yeah.
By that first week in September, won't it? When do
Oh,
they-
yes, they start like the first week of August.
Oh, yeah, so that would be, I think that makes sense, September 15th through October 15th.
Cause then you'll have all the requests, we'll know,
September.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15th. Yeah, October 15th.
but if people don't request a hearing by the 15th, then we can't, then we say you missed the deadline to schedule.
Yeah, they're done.
Okay,
They're done,
But then they
Until
could,
and that's a
Until they do
situation,
the abatement.
but
yeah,
they
but then
can't,
they
they
can't do it,
can't because they would have had to have
protest it at the
protested
assessor.
by
That's when you can just say no.
yesterday.
But they can
Great.
protest and not file the appeal, right?
Well, if they file an appeal at the assessor's level and they're late to the CBOE level, then that abatement can't be granted.
Okay, cause I thought that they could, if they just did the first level of protest to you, got your determinations and yes or no or whatever. I thought they could go to the
No,
abatement after
Then, well,
that,
they
so.
can, if,
So if they bypass, they decide not to go through the CBOE.
then you, I can't grant that one then. But I did in 2023 because there was, we stipulated all
Yeah.
those things and it was such a mess.
Yeah.
That states, there was people that did appeal them, but honestly, I didn't have to look back. I would look at it, and man, this was some crazy stuff, so I ended up going to give it abatements, but that did not happen to a single property in 2024.
Yeah.
They filed an appeal, they did not get an abatement.
Well, and it's still the same body that would approve or deny an abatement
If
as the
there's
CBOE.
a resolution out there that if it's over 10 grand, the abatement number, then I go to the commissioners.
Oh, okay, if it's under that,
A lot
then
of
you can do
counties
it.
have that lower, I know that Summit uses a $5,000. But then at the 10,000 level, not only do I need approval from the board of commissioners, I have to send that to the state to get the director of the Division of Property Taxation to sign off on it too.
Cool. So we can, even if somebody bypasses this and tries to go directly to abatement, we can deny that abatement,
You can,
right, okay. We wouldn't be the CBOE, we would be the BOCC,
yeah,
but
But
it would
you-
be the same people.
Yeah.
Okay,
You-
cool,
but that's only if it's over 10 grand.
right,
And you guys could change that.
we could lower, we could raise it,
You
we
can
could,
do
yeah,
that, you could get every single abatement before it's granted, if you guys wanted to do that. There's places that do that.
Holy moly, it's fairly complicated.
Oh, man, yeah, there's this, yeah.
That's an understatement.
Following along here, Andy?
As best I can. It is complicated.
okay,
That's, I think that's all. Well, everything gets appraised out since the 1st of January of each year. The assessment date is, the appraisal date is June 30 for last year. The assessment date is the January 1st of each year. So if a house is halfway done on January 1st,
yeah,
the value of the house component is cut in half.
Yeah.
It's 50%. Yeah, however it sits on January 1st. And there may be a couple of those, because I've had a couple of appeals that people are agreeing with the percentage of completion. It's pretty easy to tell what it is on the 1st of January just by looking at the sales inspection sheet on the
Yeah.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
You guys have a wonderful afternoon.
You
To
too.
you too.
Hey, Mark, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll email you this stuff so you have it, but I think you probably got it.
And Mark, are you going back to your office?
Great, appreciate that.
Shall we conclude this work session with the Lake County Assessor's Office and training for the CBOE?
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Andy.
Bye, Andy, safe
All right.
travels.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you guys in a couple hours here.
Okay.
That's right.
Yep, see you soon. Love to your mama.
Hello?